Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I am back to finish off my box caddy for the Roxy Journal of Stitchery prompt for the month of May, which was to make a slow stitch box. I've got two projects on the go. I'm yet to do a further update video on my house shaped box with hexagons and clamshells, which I'm just loving creating. But I got up to a point where I was able to, I think we'll be able to finish off this one together, or at least get most of the pieces sorted out for it. So I thought I would pop back on and show you how this is progressing, and then we're going to work on some of the slow stitch elements of it that will be additional little embellishments of the box. So it's an old tin caddy that was meant to be like a housekeeper's box, but I have covered it entirely in vintage dressmaking patterns and then used some of the covers from dressmaking patterns on each of the sides. In the last episode we were working on this side and starting to work on this little slow stitch piece. I've added some more lace over there, this button, and some of the rickracs. I think we were looking at the British snaps as part of that. I've used some of the beautiful old vintage measuring tape as well. But what I'll do first is I'll just shift the inner tray out for a moment, and it's got all of my supplies that we'll be using tonight. So what I've done on the inside of my box is I have used some of the instructions from the patterns to line the box. Sorry, it is evening, so we are getting a bit of shadow, and it is a big size. And then I've used some beautiful fabric that I have, which has almost, let me just grab an example of it from behind me. It's I got a big vintage lot of this a little while ago, and it's almost got a surface. It would have been probably some sort of furnishing fabric, and so it's got a slight surface covering on it, which makes it perfect, because I think even if I got a little spill I'd be able to easily just wipe it clean, and I think it's probably even got a protector on it. But it feels like a beautiful cotton on this side. On this side it just feels like it's got a slight coating to it, but just fabulous vintage designs. And just how beautiful is that design in there. And I love that it has the blues that coordinate with the fabrics. So on each of the sides, this one you'd seen in the last episode, I've put the pattern, and then I'm putting little samplings that relate to the colours in general of the pattern. So I've now put a design on here, and we'll be working on some of the embellishments together for this side. Put this design on, so funky, love those flares. And then this one with these very pretty dresses over here. I put this little piece of trim on because it kind of reminded me of the trim that's around the dress there. And then for the handle I've used some fabric that I've got that has got measuring tapes on it, and I thought, wow, that would be just make the most wonderful handle. Originally I was going to stitch it, and I probably will end up putting some stitching along it, but I just used my Yoo-hoo glue again and overlapped the edges, so it's just made a good seal. And then I put some little Suffolk puffs on. They can't attach fully to it because, as you can see, the handle needs to be able to move, but they just perfectly line up, and they just cover the bottom where I couldn't bring the measuring tape fabric all the way down. But yeah, I just think that looks lovely with the measuring tape on there. So that's the box, the bottom of the box. And then the tray sits inside, and that's where I just need to keep my little Suffolk puff sitting up. And I think that's fine. If you remember before, it was all rattly before, but now it's like a really just perfect little fit, which is lovely. So I'll just take the things that we might be using for our work tonight out of the box, so you can see what is in there. Should put it all over here. Tried to be organised so we can get through lots of stitching together. Oops, a little tassel. So again, I used some of that similar type of fabric that I got in the vintage fabric lot to line it. So I used a single piece to line over part of the way over here, over here, over here, and then I did the lining around the outside, but I found that it had a slight slope, so I did actually have to cut it. I couldn't do it in a continuous bit to go around the corners, so there is yeah, a couple of joints. Again, I was just using my Yoo-hoo, but I just think it's come out really, really lovely. Let me actually just move that over there so you can get a full look. So really pleased with that. And then I used the same design that I've used inside the other box, or the bottom of the box, to line around here. And again, I had to put some little cuts in at the corners because it is sloping down. But I think that's, yeah, worked really beautifully, and just love it. And I also, yeah, lined the bottom because I'd brought this fabric over first of all, and then I just put more of the fabric on the bottom. So that's, yeah, fully lined, and it's just going to be incredibly useful, I think. And originally I was wondering whether I'd put a lid over. I don't think I will, because I tend to like to have things sitting up in it. It'll be a great place to keep things like my scrap jars, where I just pop in little scraps until they can be sorted. So I think it's going to be very, very useful. So I will take this out for now, because we're going to be working on embellishments for each of these sides. But I think I want to bring you down a little bit. I want to still be able to show you what we're creating the embellishments for. Yeah, I think that will work okay. So I've got a whole lot of materials for little clusters, and I think the first one we'll start with, because then we'll be pretty much complete on this side, is a little cluster that relates to this dress and a cluster that relates to this one. So what I'm planning to use is a little belt. Now, I was going to use that black plastic, but I've just been going through my vintage little belt collection. I've got this little metal one as well, which actually looks probably more authentic to the style, so we might pop that with that. And I found this, oh, let's put a little mark, putting the we'll just hopefully I'll give that a rub, and that will take the little indent that my little clip has left on that. Just have to give it a bit of massaging, I think. Might have to give it a steam or something to get it to lose that mark. I think it's almost disappearing, so that's good. And then this little fabric sample from the reverse art truck, because I think it's a really great match for the colour. So I'm just going to release this one from its little card. I think it came when I got a whole lot of buttons and all sorts of little embellishments in a bulk lot from a lady that had been sort of preparing them to sell at a market. It's quite rusted, so I'm not worried about using it in a piece that's just going to sit on here basically. But I think it will be cute. So that will be one little collection that we'll start with. And then I've got another little collection which are from my, and that's to go with this dress. I'll just show it with you. So I've picked out the colours that are in the dress, like a naturally sort of colour, a greeny colour, blue and red. It almost has a pale, so we might even look for a pale colour as well to go with it. It's almost like a little pale white, off-white. So I'll just put this down for a moment so I've got more space in front of me, and I'll grab those two little clusters, and I'm going to have a look in my fabric samples for a sort of a paler off-white. So these are just a whole bunch of colourful samples that I've got from the reverse art truck, and they're great if you just want to be finding some colour selections. So I think that could go quite well as well. Although I do usually, oh no, we've got 4, so yeah, I like to have an uneven number, so that will be perfect. Let me just cut a piece off of about the same size as the others. Yeah, it's different enough from that one. And so, yeah, this is good where I'm trying to sort of, I guess, capture the essence of the pattern, but don't have the exact fabric, obviously, that the pattern was done in. So what I'm thinking with this little cluster is I could either probably depends how long my other one is, but I was thinking it could sit up over across the top and we can stitch it sort of together in a little order sort of across here, and then that can just be glued in place, or unless I put it down the bottom here. That's the other possibility. Actually, we might do that because I think there's enough interest happening up the top with these two things. And then I'm thinking my little belt buckle piece. Let's just have a look at how it will work. Oops, how do we, just thinking, how do you thread into the belt buckle? Something like this. Probably should, guess it's, probably have to remove that little buckly bit. I think I'll put a little hole in or something, but yeah, I was thinking that will sit down. Oops, sorry, just so you can see, something like that, and I'm planning to put some decorative stitching in it as well. So we'll work to that as a plan. Again, I'll move this out of the way for the moment. So I've got a little cluster, and then yeah, I was thinking maybe the button can just go, and it still needs a little bit of a massage just to take that little indent out, but I suppose the indent, that's all just part of the age, isn't it? Okay, so let's just work out what we're going to do here. Can I remove this little bit, or can I tuck it somehow under, or so I was thinking I wanted to have both colours showing, so sort of sew it something like that. Yeah, I guess if I'm going to do that, I'll need to put a little hole that it can come through, or poke it through at the end. I guess I can always put a little hole through at the end. But yeah, I might need to just trim this down a little bit, or I mean, I can go back to my original plan because this one doesn't have a. What other ones do I have? I have some round ones, and then I have some small little metallic ones. That's the other possibility. I'm guessing that's a buckle of some description. Again, it's quite petite, isn't it? Choices. I might try and use this one. It's rusted, so it's kind of good to use it. I won't be using it in any sort of other project. I'm getting all sorts of little bits of fluff on it. So I think I'll grab out a nice coloured, might go with a nice brown, variegated brown, to just do some decorative stitching on this in. And if we are going to do this one, I said I'll need to trim it a bit. Sorry, I'll try and make sure I stay on camera. Put that in my little sample jar. I might even bring you down, or I might bring you a bit closer to me. Actually, I think that's what I need to do. Probably brought you too far over now. This mat here I got at the Reverse Art Truck today. It's just like some carpet matting, but yeah, perfect to just add to my felt mat on my desk. I don't think it's a wool though, so I won't be able to iron on it or anything. So I hope you're all having a great day or a great evening. So it's just going to be some simple little sort of stitchy embellishments, but I thought you might like to see how the project's progressing and how I'm going to be embellishing it. I think that will fit through there, yep. So I'm planning these embellishments will then be stuck down onto the piece, at least parts of them attached to the piece. So I think I'll just do a regular little running stitch. Getting my hair caught in it, I think. Not my attached hair, but a hair from the surface of the desk. Might put a couple of my little quilty clippy bits in. What's there? There is a piece of hair hanging off it. I feel like I've got a little bit of pink attached to it as well. Do you ever have those days where everything just wants to attach, all the bits of fluff from your desk want to attach onto what you're working on? So yeah, this is just classic turning sort of little scraps into little decorative features. So it is Saturday evening here. As usual, Saturday's busy day, just sort of, yeah, tootling around. Took Travis to 2 parks. We did stop in at the reverse art truck, just very briefly though. Saw my friend Christina has been to there's another reverse art truck in Ringwood, so she's been out there. Got some lovely finds. I love sharing the reverse art truck love. I just think it's such a wonderful idea to save textiles and other things from landfill. And yeah, always changing stock. I went back today actually because I needed, just to get a few more of the little sort of tiley like things that I'm just using for a little mini project on the splashback of the sink, and just wanted to make sure I had a few spares in case when they're being cut they're not quite right. And so yeah, and I saw they had these fabulous carpet squares and 2 perfectly coordinating ones. So this is actually got a join down here, but I've just put 2 pins sort of to hold them together on the surface, and yeah, it gives me a really good spongy sort of, well, not spongy but firm but soft surface to work on, and something a bit more visually interesting than the grey matte. And now I tend to, like, I've preferred not to iron on my grey matte anyway, because that can create mould over time by sort of trapping water in the mat. So I use my little ironing board that I got from Kmart now. So I'm going to do a row going back the other way, but not lining them up purposely, having them sort of staggered from each other. So just decorative stitching. Just like you would have little fabric samples if you were a dressmaker, and so just kind of capturing that. And you might have little practice pieces or unfinished pieces. So that's the vibe I'm going for with this piece. But yeah, really happy also to have used those floral vintage fabrics. I think they go really well with the theme of the piece. And I picked out my favourite vintage dressmaking patterns. Again, they'd all come from the reverse art truck. So it's good to be putting them into use and to use the instructions on the inside. I've actually been to a vineyard up in the Yarra Valley where they had, I think, all old newspapers lining the amenities room, which had looked really good. So it kind of reminds me of that, and I just love how sort of yellowed they are. Well, that was a very big dog's tooth stitch. Not that it really matters, but that was a little bit too big, even for me. This fabric sample is beautiful and soft. It feels lovely. I think it's probably got some wool in it, but possibly a bit of synthetic as well. I just love how the ability of even simple stitches to transform a piece is fabulous. So because I tend to like things in 3s, so actually I might finish off with one more stitch up. What are we doing here? Just do one more little stitch up that way. And then we'll just make our way down here. Might end up being 2 episodes doing the embellishments, who knows. I thought you might like to see it if you've got a plan to do something similar. I saw someone recently as well had done some beautiful little bookmarks using vintage patterns. I think they'd be versatile to all sorts of projects, whether a box, a container, a journal, bookmarks. But I like the idea of, yeah, combining the slow stitch in with it, and the fabric samples and little bits of lace and buttons and Suffolk puffs. So almost down, and then I guess I should probably thread it through, but I might leave the thread attached to my little sample. Which way do I want it going through? I think that's okay. And then I'll need to put a hole in. I might try a hole because I'm going to need a place where that little belt buckle can poke through. So let's see how we go. Where did I make that hole? That's a problem with this fabric. Sometimes when you make a hole, it just sort of all disappears anyway. Nope, doesn't want to come through there. Okay, let's do it about halfway along, but not where we have a stitch. I'm sure you're meant to put an actual little cut or something in, but just wanting to see if I can. Of course I'm doing it actually. I'm just going to take the needle off for a second and just try again. Let's see if I can get it through. Feels like it should be able to poke through, but I might need to actually put a little slit in, I think. It's not really going to be getting much wear, so it won't be a problem. Okay, I think we've got through now. There we go, that's all we had to do. So that can now sit like that, and then probably want to put it the other way actually, if I want my button on the top, which I think I do. So that needs to come up. Pull my thread through, and that's our first little embellishment. In fact, we need to take that bit back that way, take our needle through. So that's going to sit like that. I think that looks great, and then we'll just put our little button on the top. So I'll just pop my needle back through, try not to catch bits of fluff. So we think we're planning a little trip down to San Remo tomorrow. Alex said he found a new dog beach down there. I was half toying with the idea of going to the amazing embroidery exhibition in Sale, but I think it's about 2 hours each way, which just might be a bit too far. But yeah, I think it finishes tomorrow, so I imagine it'll be quite busy as well with lots of folks racing there. But if for some reason we don't decide to go to San Remo, I might jump in the car all the same and go down there. So let's attach the ones as we do them, so at least you get the satisfaction of seeing how they go on the piece. Again, I'll just need to bring you up a little bit so you can see. So I think it'll sit quite nicely next to there. So it sort of, yeah, it goes down to about there. I think that will be great. So I do need to get my Yoo-hoo glue, and I've actually just used one up, but I've got my little tray of ones over here. Brand new tube. Probably need to grab a bit of paper to glue onto. So I'm just putting it on the top and the bottom of the like the underneath and the either end of the fabric. Don't need to actually put the buckle glued down, so I've just put it on here and on here. I might just spread a bit more on its way, and then we'll just put it about there, I think. About there. I think that's nice because that way the buckle's not over the design. Give it a good push down. But yeah, the Yoo-hoo glue works really well with fabric and with paper. So I'm happy with that. I think that looks really lovely, like how she's sort of looking over at it. So that's great. So now we need to do our little cluster of fabrics, which is these ones here. So I think I'll keep that really simple. I might even just do like a little zigzaggy stitch along them. How do I want to order them? Might start with that blue, the green. Did you hear Travis just sighing outside my craft room? I've got a few things on the floor, so I've got him not able to come in the craft room, but just got the puppy gate across. So I don't think I'll use that thread. Just put that thread aside. What colour would I like to use? Maybe I'll use a goldy colour. And yeah, I think I'll just use a normal weight. Unless I use, maybe actually just so the stitching is a bit more visible, I will grab one of my crochet threads out. So I think the dress had a bit of orangey yellow in it as well, so that might be nice. Oops, I disturbed my tray, so it wasn't going back in the drawers. Now it's sliding. Yeah, let's do that. Just recheck the design to make sure that is actually in keeping. Well, you can't see that. Yeah, I think there is a slightly oranginess to it, so I think that will be okay. So how am I going to keep these together while I stitch? Maybe I need to put my little clippies on. Clip. What was I thinking? I was thinking that maybe what I'll do first is actually just put a dab of glue on them to hold them together. So this will just keep them in place and make it a bit easier to do a more decorative stitch on them. Just enough to hold them. Oops. then maybe I'll just do some little crosses if I can manage it. Again, doesn't have to be perfection. This is just a little sampler, little embellishment. Here's a good chance to use some different stitches as well. I'll bring you down again a little bit. Sorry if we're doing a lot of moving in and out tonight. It's just hard when you've kind of got a larger object that you're working on. That was a bit bodgy, but that's okay. We're gonna embrace the bodge. Yeah, I think using the crochet thread's a good idea because it's going to give a more distinct stitch, and you want these to be little decorative stitches. So it ended up being a very busy week at work. I commented to Alex on Monday, before you know it, it will be Friday, and it got to Friday morning. I said, what did I tell you? Yep. Even Mum, who's retired, she said, oh, I've had such a busy week. I've had something every day. And now it's Saturday and I need to clean the house. I said, why don't you clean the house on a day that's not a Saturday? Then you can have a Saturday off. But she said, no, I've just been so busy. Everyone finds the weeks just fly by. I don't know if it's something about getting older or what it is. And as long as I don't rush around too much on the weekends, I usually feel rested by the time it gets to the end of the weekend and feel like I've had some downtime, which is good. Because yeah, there was I think 1 or 2 evenings this week when I didn't get to stitch. I think I looked at the book with you, the lovely History of Embroidery book, one evening, just because it was a nice relaxing thing to do. So that one was a bit quicker. I am going to be, I think I'll put that down. Will I put that down here? Will I turn it this way round so that it sort of goes, oops, sorry, you can't even see that. Turn it this way round, have it sit down here, or the other choice is, sorry, and you can't see that either, and I bumped you, is to put it up there, but then it's going to block some of that out. So I think we will put it down the bottom, and I'm going to just move you up a smidge. Should have left you up either there, or I could put it over here and have it overlapping over the bottom of that. Maybe that's even better, and then we leave the nice little shoes. Or could have it coming down here. Sorry, and again, you can't see where I've got it. Could have it coming down there, or could have it sitting under the edge of the belt buckle and have it coming down there. That could be nice as well. I can always remove this one because it is just stuck on with glue. I am thinking I kind of like it up the top. Kind of like the look of that, I think. So we might save this one for another time and another piece. And that shows you the Yoo-hoo glue stuck it well, but it's still able to be removed. And then I'll be able to put this one over here. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So, just going to grab a piece of card that I can use as my little gluing surface. Try not to get glue on my fingers because I haven't brought in a little wet rag like I normally do. And I think we'll put that over there. Actually, I should probably put it the other way round so that the blue's closer to the blue lady also. And that can sit right up into the little fold up the top. So I think that's, yeah, very, very cute. So I'll bring you up. Close your eyes if you don't like being dragged around too much, which there's a lot of dragging. So yeah, I think that's a really lovely little selection and references beautifully. We've got this dress and a little bit of lace, and then we've got the beautiful blues and the stitching into the design that's done there. So that is fabulous. Next up, don't know where we'll move next. Maybe we will go next to, I've got this one here, and I've got this piece for it where I've cut out part of the pattern for that. And then I also have this piece here where because these flares had little birds on them, I thought, oh, the William Morris fabric has little yellowy coloured birds with a dark background, so I thought, oh, that could be nice to do that. So what I'm planning to do is to do some stitching into these. And then what else had I pulled out for this? I think I've managed to find a little bit of, I found some yellow buttons and some yellow and black fabric samples, so I thought I could do something for that as well. So let's just have a look at how our layout is looking. Again, I might just bring you a smidgeroo up even further. So those will just be little pieces that go either side, and this one I might even, just to have it sort of a bit separated, I might even need to trim a tiny bit off, or maybe I can actually overlap this over the edge. I think I'll do that probably. Can come about there, I think. And so if I want to do my yellow and black reference for that, we could do something down here probably. I might just need to fold it under a bit like that, I think. Oops, you can't actually see that again. Yeah, I think that's what I might do, is a little piece down the bottom. So I'll just fold that like that to remind me. And then these ones will just be stitching around, and then they'll be put on. And I think I'll use this little button as well. These were just some little button cards I sewed vintage buttons onto just to be decorative items in my craft room. So that's the plan. So again, I'm going to bring you down, so close your eyes if you don't like being moved. So again, this one's sample from the reverse art truck. This is some of that beautiful William Morris fabric, Liberty fabric that I've got. So for this, I think I'll use quite a fine needle because I'm going through paper. Fine sharp needle. What have I got? Does anyone else find your needles and pins just try and disappear? Well, particularly the needles try and disappear into your actual pin cushion. No, that one's got a bit of a blunt end on it. Okay, we'll give that one a go. I might use a nice red to go around this one. So these were just little pictures in the little patterns themselves. Almost lost my needle on my surface there. I couldn't even see it. So I think I'll just do a little running stitch similar to what I did round the pattern on the other one. Just to attach the paper and just give that stitchy sampler look, that slow stitchiness. It's all right to do them a reasonable size as well, because it doesn't have to be super small. You want them to stand out on the piece. Getting so many beautiful things for my craft room. I was saying to one of my commenters that it just makes me happy when I look at my embroidery hoop bag, the one that I made recently for the bag prompt for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery. It's just, such a joyful thing, and I use my little pouch at work whenever I go in. when I conquered my fear of zips. So even for old pattern instruction paper, it is, yeah, it's not a problem to stitch through. And I've just glued this onto the fabric with my Yoo-hoo glue, as you are used to hearing me say. I was originally thinking, oh, do I need to use fabric glue? But the Yoo-hoo's kind of good because you can reposition it while it's still sort of tacky. Worked really well when I was doing like the wrapping of the handle, because if I was using another one, sometimes they glue a bit too quickly, but I was able to do everything I needed to while it was still tacky. I feel like I've got a little bit of thread caught under there. It's probably not too much of a problem. Oh, just stabbed my knuckle. I was watching my lovely friend Leanne this morning. She had another one of her beautiful beading and stitching videos up, just working on a little square. And saw Annie getting lovely goodies from Bazaar Fabrics. Watched Susie Q working on finishing off her box. Watched Christina Creates, who'd been out to the Ringwood Reverse Art Truck. Who else? Oh, I watched Dottie B working on her apple pie for the letter A in Little Stitchery. Watched K3N. I think one of her, not the most recent video, but yeah, she was doing Borrow inspired. Talking about healing that comes through stitching, which is a very true thing. It is such a restorative thing. It's what I turn to when I feel good, and when I feel just I need that little bit of filling of my own cup. So that's that one done. I think that's kind of cute. Looks almost like a little like the shape of a mummy, like a coffin, mummy's coffin. But such is life. Okay, what colour would I like for this? Maybe I will do the nice gold. Do you want gold? I think I do. Yep, let's go with gold. Let's not and ah, Christine. Let's use this time wisely. Put my thread over there. Oops. Okay. All right, so we're just going to do the same on this one. I think the running stitch does the job, and it's sort of simple enough to do on the paper with the fabric. They were just such beautiful little drawings in the instructions that I thought, no, I want to have those. I want to have those in the piece. You might think, oh, why didn't you just photocopy or use, like, preserve the patterns? But yeah, the Reverse Art Truck, they've got a whole tub on the wall full of vintage patterns, so it's not like they're in absolute short supply, and this is just preserving them in a new way and giving them new life. Sampled up with new fabrics. Well, new old fabrics really, because William Morris's designs they go back into the histories of design. glad to be using some of my Liberty as well. At first I got out my little drawer and I was like, oh, should I use it? But I've got a decent sized piece of this one. And I thought it just went so well with the design on the pattern. The very exuberant flares. I wonder if I should probably put some stitching up the, maybe I'll go up between the flares here because there's a gap in the design. Then I will have to jump across on the back, but that's okay. Sure, I can work out a way to do that. I'll probably jump up here. It's going to be glued down anyway onto the piece, so I don't think it's a problem. I just won't pull it too tight. And the good thing is, even if the Yoo-hoo glue weakens in strength over time, the stitching will hold the little papery piece on. And the outside's not going to be getting lots of wear and tear, so it's not like the paper's going to be a fragile risk of sort of damage. Oops, a bit too tight, close to the outfit there, but that's okay. Oops, I've unthreaded, haven't I? Yes. Oops, come on. Ah. Back you come. I'll stab myself again. He's a sharp little needle, this one. I think it's called an in-betweener or something for quilting. It's nice and fine, which is handy. Handy dandy. Okay, so I've got those two done. Now we need to do this one for this side. So I was going to just do a little folding. That's okay. And, no, it's just going to run along the bottom, isn't it? Yeah, like that. So I think that is okay. Let's just try and get it a straightish fold because that looks a little bit bodgy at the moment. Okay. So I might just do a black stitch along there. Where are my... Some blacks. I've got a blue. No, I thought I had my black in there. Maybe I don't. Is that a black? Just a dark blue. I think that's a black. It's hard to tell in this evening light. It might not be, or it might be. Oops. My drawers are trying to slide backwards as I slide something into them. Don't want them to slide off the back and for you to hear an almighty crack. Does that say black on it? No, it doesn't tell us what it is colour-wise. That looks pretty dark, so we're going to pretend it is black. Use my bigger needle. It's a very big needle, but that's okay. Wondering if I can do it a bit more as a single sort of run of gathering stitches. Just stuck them all on the needle. Like that. We'll see how even it is when I do it like that. As I say, it's not about perfection for these pieces. I mean, I can actually even do a little bit of gathering. That's kind of cool too. Actually don't mind that with a bit of gather in it. Probably need to take it back through to the back. And then give it a little pull at this end, and then I've got a slight bit of gathering. Then I'll tie it off at the back, and then we can attach our pieces on. So I can sort of spread the gathers out a little bit now that it's tied. Okay, let's put my needles over here so I don't lose them. Then I'm going to bring you up because I'm going to bring the box back over. I have to go even higher, so I'm just going to draw you up even higher. I think this embellishment will end up being a two-part series just because we've only got 2 sides done so far. That's fun doing. I think it's fun doing these little clusters, if that's what you call them. I was going to have this one sitting towards the bottom, wasn't I, and slightly overlapping to the next page. Extra gluey glue down there. You can even put it over the sort of edges and it will just help to glue everything down. Probably need to do that down the bottom too. Oops, I'm lifting up some of my pattern fabric from underneath, but that's okay. I'll just smooth that down too. Put some along this edge as well. Great. I was going to put one of the buttons on the little gather, but I don't think I'll actually, now that it is gathered, when it was the fabric I was going to put it on. I can always attach a button afterwards if I feel the need, but I think that's kind of cool just like that. So let's just get some glue on it and then let's spread it out how we want it to be. Yeah, I think that's kind of nice because it could almost be like a little, yeah, sort of embellishment on the sleeve or something like that. So I like that. That was a happy accident, if that's what you call it. When you have something you haven't totally planned, but that comes to fruition. So that's cool. Almost like the gathers on the skirt as well. So that's great. And then we've got our other one. Again, I could always have added buttons and all sorts of things, and they might still come, like I can stick them on. I don't even have to always stitch the buttons on. Thinking this one over, sorry, so that you can actually see. So there we go, that's that one. So maybe I'll show you what's planned for the other ones, and then that way perhaps, I don't think they're that sort of, that complicated. I can always, either come back in another video or stitch them off screen, and you can know what I'm going to be doing. So I am planning, I had this beautiful fabric that I got from the D-Stash at the Embroiderers Guild of Victoria, and I thought, oh, isn't that a good little match for that dress design? And then I had this little piece from the pattern, so I think I'll do something similar. Well, I'm planning to do something similar to what I did in terms of just stitching around this little piece, or maybe just doing some stitching across the middle to hold that in place. So that will end up going there, and that will overlap a little bit with the other fabric, but I think that works nicely. I can always trim down the fabric a little bit too if I don't want it to overlap with the William Morris. So that will go there. And then for my pinks, I've got a few things. I've got a little button that I'll probably do a French knot through the middle of. I've got this dyed bit of doily, and I've got this fabric and a strip that I tore off it. And I was thinking I might sort of have it with this little wrap around the center as a little bow piece coming down the side, and that might even be a little place to put a little tuck or something if I want to have some vintage needles or thread or things like that, because I've got a whole bunch of little I guess notions as well, vintage notions, so something like that could slip in there as well. So that will be a little cluster that I'm going to have there. And then for this one, I'm thinking I'll sew this old piece of thread on a little old roll onto this green piece and have that down the bottom, even with a bit of the thread still sort of maybe meandering across the piece, or maybe meandering up onto the dress. So that's for that side. So I think that's all, pretty straightforward, so I can probably do that off camera. And then for this side, I am thinking I've got this fabric and my big Suffolk puff maker, and I thought I'd make a big Suffolk puff because this fabric kind of has a lot of the similar colours of this one in it. So I thought as a Suffolk puff that could work well up the top. I am then thinking I'll have a little cluster with this blue fabric that I got, blue stripy fabric with sort of cutouts and flowers on it that I got from the reverse art truck today. I thought that could be good for the dress and have this one with it because the two ladies are sort of together. So I'll work out something that I haven't done so far, whether it's kind of making like a little pockets type thing. Not sure, but I'll work something out. Maybe even a little pocket, because then again that could be a little place to put something fun. What else have I got? Oh yes, I've got, thought this little piece off a little cuff from a block printed piece could go nicely with the colours of this, and also have a bit of the blue in it. And I've got this little spotty Suffolk puff that I've just made and put a button on, so I thought that could sit down this side. Probably don't need that fabric anymore, so I'll put that back in my sample jar. I've also got a bit of this red broderie anglaise, so I might end up incorporating some of that across the top. I've also got that, but I don't think I'll need that for this. Got a nice little red button, so I might leave that with that. Also got a tassel. There's some belts in this one, and so in fact actually this belt looks a bit more similar to that one, so it's possible I could even, but it might be a bit too big. So yeah, Suffolk puff, oops, up there. I think that's what will be for this section. Oops, just dropped my tassel, but we'll find that afterwards. Hopefully I don't forget about it. So then we've also got, yeah, which I showed you this side, didn't I? So they're the two sides that I've still got to work on. So yeah, you might see another video back on this, or otherwise when I do my update on my house and work on my finishing off my house-shaped box, I'll show you this one in that one if I don't end up coming back for this. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you like where this has yeah, this box has gone. Hopefully it's given you some inspiration of making your own little slow stitchy clusters and decorations, and I'll see you all soon. Bye everyone.